Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of Who Said What. I am your host, Krishna, and for those of you who are new here, let me quickly set up some context for what this show is about. See, the idea is that we'll pick the most interesting and juiciest comments from business leaders, fund managers, and the like, and contextualize things around them. Now, some of these names might not be familiar, but trust me, they're influential people, and what they say matters a lot because of their experience and background. So, I'll make sure to bring a mix. Some names you'll know, some you will discover, and hopefully it will give you a wide and useful perspective. By the way, for all the sources mentioned in this video, don't forget to check out our newsletter. The link is in the description below. Now, with that out of the way, let me get started. So we listen to a bunch of con calls because we run an initiative called the Chatter, where we pull out the sharpest quotes from the management. I'll link the newsletter in the description below. So Devyani International, which operates quick service restaurants or QSR brands like KFC and Pizza Hut, during their recent earnings call, made a telling observation about how their business has fundamentally changed.
See, we need to continue to optimize the formats for the dine-in channel, and as you know, over the last few years, we've reduced the store format sizes. So KFC, the format used to be 3,000 square feet. We are down to about 1,400 to kind of catch up with the delivery trends and the lower dine-in. Similarly, on Pizza Hut also, we moved away from a dine-in first brand to a delivery kind of focused format. So therefore, this needs to be continuously optimized. At the same time, we also need to be cognizant of the fact that there is a category of consumers who prefer a good dine-in experience, so which kind of has started to work on a very segmented basis.
He further explained the drivers behind the shift.
See, it is complementary because today, for example, if you look at the consumer convenience, they prefer to consume food at home given urbanization, traffic jams, and so on and so forth. So we have to ensure that how do we become a very meaningful player as far as the cloud kitchen or let's say online food strategy is concerned. Because it's important that we are able to satisfy the consumer demand. And as Sujit mentioned, for example, Domino's has kind of worked very beautifully on this whole 20 minutes delivery time and they are seeing good results. We are also working on a similar strategy because if let's say 50% of the industry is getting consumed at home, then obviously you need to make sure that you have a proper location strategy, you have to have a cloud strategy so that you are able to serve the consumer demand through the aggregators. So all of those pieces are work in progress and we are already working on those.
Now, this represents a huge shift that we observed in our daily brief piece on QSRs. This is no temporary change in consumer behavior, it's a fundamental transformation in how people consume food from QSR chains. The fact that they have cut their KFC store formats by more than half, from 3,000 square feet to 1,400, shows how dramatic this shift has been. Westlife Food World, the McDonald's franchisee for West and South India, is also betting heavily on these changing consumption patterns. During their earnings call, Managing Director Saurabh Kalra revealed an interesting strategic shift in how they are thinking about store locations.
We are experimenting on metro station stores, etc. I don't think that's strategy yet, but our goal is very simple. We've got to be where consumers are spending, and whether it's long distance transit in some of the areas like all the access control highways, we would like to be a part of all access control highways. We would like to be a part of all airports. We would definitely look at short transit like metro as opportunities for the future. But that doesn't mean that we are compromising on other areas like a high street or a mall opportunity.
See, now Westlife is pointing out that more and more people are eating while they are on the move. Instead of going to a restaurant as a separate activity, food stops are happening at airports, highways, and even metro stations. Eating has become part of people's travel and daily commutes, not just something they do after reaching a destination. Now, all of this shows how fast food in India is being reshaped. It's no longer about big outlets and long meals, but about fitting into people's everyday routines. Whether that means smaller kitchens delivering to their homes or quick stops while they're on the move. Now, another thing we came across through the chatter was a comment from Dr. Praveer Sinha, the CEO of Tata Power. Here's what he said.
Just to give you an idea, that last year, March, we supplied 1,000 units. This year, March, we supplied 8,000 units. This year, June, we supplied 20,000 units. And hopefully, later part of this year, we'll supply 40 to 50,000 units per month. So the demand is humongous. The country, PM Surya Ghar, Prime Minister has said 1 crore households. We have actually in the country 25 crore households. So whatever we will do will be still very small compared to the total market opportunity which is there. So I would leave it to you to guess and estimate that what sort of demand will be there for next 5-10 years. I think it's humongous.
Now, if a CEO says this, it's worth asking, how does he plan to do this? Why is he so confident? And what's behind these numbers? On the con call, he explained that Tata Power has been streaming its supply chain. The rooftop business, he said, is now almost entirely built on their own manufactured cells and modules, which helps with margins and reliability. They've also expanded channel partners, targeted new customer segments, and are leaning on the government's domestic content requirement or DCR, which makes it mandatory for rooftop projects to use India-made modules. He even noted that from June 2026 onwards, DCR will apply to all projects, not just rooftops. But his comment also points to something bigger, the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. This is the government's flagship rooftop solar program launched at the end of February 2024. See, the pitch is simple. If you put solar panels on your roof, you can generate roughly 300 units of power a month. And that's about what an average middle-class household consumes. So in other words, the government is making a promise that you can wipe out most of your electricity bill. Now to make this work, they've set aside a massive budget of 75,000 crores and structured the scheme so households get a direct subsidy. Up to 78,000 rupees is credited into your account once your system is installed and approved. Now on top of that, you can take small collateral-free loans at around 7% interest from public sector banks. And this scheme is only for residential rooftops. That's important because this was always the missing piece in India's solar journey. We have built huge solar parks in Rajasthan and Gujarat, but when it came to putting panels on people's homes, India was lagging badly. See, the problem is that the earlier attempt called Rooftop Solar Phase 2 didn't really work out well. The target back then was 40 gigawatt of rooftop by 2022. By the deadline, India had barely managed 7 or 8 gigawatt and less than 3 gigawatt in the residential segment. See, the reasons weren't complicated. See, subsidies had to move through state agencies, so paperwork dragged for months. See, discoms didn't like rooftop solar because it meant they'd lose their best paying customers, so they slowed down approvals. And households dealing with small local vendors weren't sure if they could trust the quality or the promises. So when phase 2 flopped, the government reset the playbook. Surya Ghar, which is the recent scheme, centralized everything. One national portal, one set of rules, one direct benefit transfer. And most importantly, it reframed the pitch from capacity in gigawatts, which means nothing to most of us, to free units on your bill. Now in the first year alone, around 10 lakh homes have already installed rooftop solar under this program. Nearly 50 lakh households have applied. That's translated into more than 3 gigawatts of new rooftop capacity in a single year, which is huge jump compared to the sluggish growth earlier. Now for your context, India's total rooftop capacity is around 20 gigawatt today. The target is 1 crore households by 2027, which would add about 30 gigawatt more. And remember, India has 25 crore households in total. Now that's what Sinha meant when he said even if we reach a crore homes, the opportunity is still massive. Now of course the ground reality isn't always as neat. In Madhya Pradesh, people found their free 300 units weren't really free once minimum charges were added. In Tamil Nadu, for example, delays in getting meters meant panels sat on rooftops without actually working. And in rural areas, not every house has the kind of roof that can take a solar setup. Plus, scaling from 10 lakh to 1 crore homes in just the next 2 years is going to be a serious execution challenge. The slope of the curve is steep, and state utilities still hold a lot of power in how fast or slow approvals move. It will be interesting to see how things unfold over the next few years. Now there's another comment we came across from Manoj Raghavan, who's the MD and CEO of Tata Elxsi. During a con call, he was asked about AI's impact on hiring, and he said this.
No, of course, we are using AI and Gen AI. We are increasingly, talking to customers and so on. But unlike IT or a BPO or some other industries, the impact of AI is not going to be very dramatic as we speak, right? There are a lot of, legal issues. Customers are talking of, open-ended liabilities. There are a number of legal issues to be sorted off before you can see uptick of usage of AI and Gen AI in the engineering space. So you cannot assume that because AI and Gen AI is now available, you will be able to deploy lesser manpower and so on and so forth. Yes, for certain tasks it is possible. A certain type of projects it is possible, but it is not a generic. For all projects we will be able to do it. So I'll be very guarded and not to mislead you in saying that look, Gen AI is a panacea for all the issues that we're going to have. That's not going to happen.
See, here's what's happening. Large language models, for all their faults, already have practical uses in companies. We've seen them in customer service, transcription, summarization, and a host of process-heavy jobs. The data so far doesn't point to sweeping layoffs, but early studies, which is mainly from the US, show that entry-level opportunities for fresh graduates are shrinking. And AI's potential impacts have become hard to ignore, no matter how true they will actually be. On one end, people warn of mass layoffs, automation wiping out entire sectors, even the end of human superiority. On the optimistic side though, people predict immense prosperity. And then you have the middle ground, where people see AI as another major but gradual technological shift, which is big but unfolding more slowly than the extremes suggest. That's where Raghavan's point is crucial. He's saying adoption isn't going to look the same everywhere. In industries like engineering, the barriers are higher. Customers are wary of open-ended liabilities. If an AI system fails in a safety-critical project, who takes the blame? Until those legal and contractual questions are resolved, adoption in certain industries will remain limited. And even where AI can help, it doesn't instantly translate to job cuts. As Raghavan put it, just because you have AI doesn't mean you can deploy it on day one and replace manpower. For some tasks, of course, but for many projects, not yet. Now this ties in with the bigger point made by Princeton professor Arvind Narayanan and researcher Sayesh Kapoor in their essay AI is Normal Technology. Their argument is this: in high-stakes domain, diffusion will always be slow. The risk of error is too high and the cost of getting it wrong is devastating. See, take crime for instance. Predicting whether someone will re-offend depends on a messy web of social and environmental factors. This is also the plot of the movie Minority Report. Today's models simply can't deal with that uncertainty because it could result in convincing someone wrongly. Or take healthcare. A misdiagnosis by an AI system could be potentially fatal, leading to regulatory crackdowns and even bankrupt institutions. See, when the downside risk is this high, organizations move more cautiously. Moreover, what would an AI-powered healthcare product look like? What should it allow the user to do? How different would it be from the GPTs we use at scale today? Now that's the nuance missing from a lot of the AI hype. Yes, AI will reshape industries. Yes, it's already changing the entry-level job market. But no, it's not a panacea that you can drop in everywhere overnight. The reality is going to be patchy. In some industries, adoption will be fast and disruptive. In others, it will be slow, painstaking, and heavily constrained by liability and trust. And the form of consumption that AI will take in one industry will be quite different from another. Now that's it for this episode. If you have any feedback for me, please let me know in the comments below. And in rural areas, and in rural areas, and in rural areas, रूरल एरियाज सर आप हंसना मेरे को हंसी आ रहा है एंड इन रूरल